Yes, you're being, and you're not sure. That's okay. We'll do our best to just carry on, and then, whatever the Lord arranges is. What else can we do other than accept? He is our. So, all right. So I don't necessarily have to get it up on the screen. These prayers already. Abhiram, you're happy?
Are you live on YouTube yet?
No, I don't share it on YouTube. Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sagara Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sujivam Sarvaitam Samadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Tanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Nisha Kanvitanscha He Krishna Karunasindo Dinabando Jaganpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurandi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Vipriya Vanchakalpa Tarubhishcha Kripasindu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Namo Vishnuvaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Srinivadi Pashtata Yeshatarine.
The way I learned those prayers is because on your YouTube lives you have it up.
Yeah.
So when it's going away, that's how I learned, because I used to listen to Bhagavatam at school and work.
Maybe I should start resharing them again.
So maybe someone else can something like that.
So, all right, let's see what we can do here. So let's see what can be done here. All right, we are on the Bhagavatam. We've been studying now up until the point, and Dharma was being addressed by Maharaj Parikit. And are you staying here, or is he, or you're going?
No, I'm going to stay. I'm going to Pujari room.
Oh, okay. So because I can control him here, but out there he's a little beyond my control.
That's fine.
Okay, no problem. So the last verse we read is Maharaj Parikit saying, "You're now standing on one leg only, which is your truthfulness, and you are somehow or other hobbling along. But quarrel personified Kali, flourishing by deceit, is also just trying to destroy that leg." Just remember, this is the activities of demigods. Kali is like a great demonic force and personality, and he is beating the symbological cow of religion, Dharma, and also bull of religion, and the cow of Mother Earth. And he is plaguing this age. And actually, this is there's allegorical meaning that's happening here in this age. That truthfulness, the final leg of Dharma, is being beat by Kali, and he's trying to take it away. He already took away all kinds of mercy. Mercy is no longer present. That's why in this age everyone is eating meat. Historically, that was never the case. And even the people who did eat meat, they ate it very scarcely. Like even the cavemans had the cave people or the Neanderthals, they had like primarily a plant-based diet, and every once in a while when they did get some meat, they did have meat, no problem. But in this age, people eat a primarily meat-based diet, and this is due to all compassion practically has been lost in the people of this age, where they have no problem subsisting off the murder and torture of animals. And then on top of that, all wars stem from that, because internally they have this inner violence that they subsist off of. Then the nature becomes violent and people want to fight all the time, and next thing you know, you have lots of war. And that's why the world is always at war in some way or another. Someone's at war with someone else. And then the other leg of austerity or discipline has already been removed, and this is why people like to get intoxicated all the time. Instead of being very disciplined and very sober and trying to understand the deeper mysteries of life, people, due to their lack of discipline that's been destroyed, they'd much rather get intoxicated and escape the existential, you could say, crisis that we're all facing. Why am I here? What's the purpose of life? Why am I going to die? What's the reason I'm here? But if you get intoxicated enough, you'll forget all about these things. And then we have the lack of cleanliness has already been destroyed as well. And now people are very much sexually engaged, because of their lack of mercy, because of their lack of discipline. Then also they want to just enjoy the base senses. And what's the easiest and most base of the senses is the sexual impulse. People want to get together only for physical attraction. There's a casual hookup culture, which even not until modern times, that was never accepted. But now, in modern times, people have, what's to speak of marrying as virgins? Now, your numbers are somewhere in the, sexual partners you've had might be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 before you even get married, which is, no, I've seen it. It's growing. It's growing too. It's like, when I was, dating around, I know I was dating someone who was in the 30s, with other partners of 30. That is disgusting, yeah. Yeah, it's it's horrible. But anyhow, this is due to the lack of cleanliness, actually. External cleanliness, where people have actually lost their hygienic. That's why all kinds of diseases and things are taking place. People have lost all type of knowledge of good hygiene. You could argue, well, people in history always had bad hygiene. Not Brahminical Vedic culture, that was not the case, actually. And even the lifespan, even in the ancient Bible, was far longer due to good hygiene and good hygienic practices in the ancient ways. But, due to hygiene in the modern age, even though we have more facility for sterilization and hygiene more than ever, more and more unique diseases are arising, and more people are dying, and all kinds of conditions are arising, and so on. But now, the final leg that's there is the leg of truthfulness. And that's the Vedic spiritual wisdom still exists. And it's damaged, though. Kali is beating it down. He's trying to finish off Dharma's 4 legs. That's the nature of Kali. He's the personified demon of the age who's meant to take us down completely to degradation. But there is still the hobbling leg of truthfulness. It is being held up. What's holding it up is the Vedic wisdom, the Vedic scriptures, and the presenters of the Vedic scriptures. So this has allegorical meaning. But Kali is trying to destroy that leg, and you're seeing it more and more. Dishonesty in life is arising. I've even been looking at money markets and gold markets and crypto markets and things, and what I learned is that it's such a dishonest market where people are manipulating, politicians are manipulating, everyone's manipulating these things. Wars are manipulated, everything is being manipulated, the mass media is manipulating, everything is gliding towards dishonesty. And instead of preserving truths of antiquity, like it used to even be in TV, they would censor. They didn't even have like real money on the TV. They had like when they first had TV, they had like you couldn't swear on it. You couldn't do anything bad. You couldn't present sexuality. You couldn't present things that were ultimately seen as degraded or taboo. You know, you can only present clean, wholesome, good things that were accepted by the people as truth. You know, like religious values and things like that. But now we've degraded so quickly in just 60, 70 years now. Yeah, you know, people are learning about sex on TV. People are learning I learned all kinds of swear words on TV. South Park educated me on so many, oh my God, horrible things, you know. What's that? I am. I'm also stalling for Parth because, you know, Madhav is, you know, just Madhav is good, but also if Parth can also get, you know, some benefit, that would be nice, especially since he's serving nicely for the pancakes for the devotees. So anyway, that's where we're at now, and now we're going to talk about the burden of the earth. Iyang chabumir Bhagavata Nyasi toru barasati Srimad Bhistatpada Nyasai Sarvatakrita Kotuka Iyam, this, Cha, and Bhumi, surface of the earth, Bhagavata, by the personality of Godhead, Nyasita, being performed personally as well as by others, Uru, great, Bara, burden, Sati, being so done, Srimadbi, by the all-auspicious, Tat, that, Padanyasai, footprints, Sarvata, all around, Krita, done, Kotuka, good fortune. The burden of the earth was certainly diminished by the personality of Godhead, and by others as well. When he was present as an incarnation, all good was performed because of his auspicious footprints. So when the Lord is here, one of the symptoms is that the burden of the earth will be diminished. That means war and strife and not good conditions will be diminished because of the auspicious appearance of the Lord. And even, you know, you see in history where all the good that came from any saintly, you know, godly personality or the Son of God or a Messiah or someone, when they come and they touch the earth, so many good qualities arise in the people. And this is you know, can explain the spread of Christianity. Here modernly, Srila Prabhupada and many of our modern acharyas preserving the, you know, the Vedic wisdom of antiquity. Just by anywhere they go, I'm seeing now, practicing this, anywhere they go, they transform these places and they transform the people there, and you meet people who've been transformed by them. And yeah, it's amazing actually. And these are just representatives of God. Now what's to speak of God himself personally coming, which is what happened when Krishna was here. So, this is the case. Shochatya Shrukala Sadvi Durbhage Vojitasati Abramanyana Vyaja Shudra Bhokshanti Mamiti. Shochati, lamenting. Ashrukala, with tears in the eyes. Sadvi, the chaste. Durbhaga, as the most unfortunate. Eva, like. Ujita, forlorn. Sati, being so done. Abramanya, devoid of Brahminical culture. Nripa Vyajaha, pose as the ruler. Shudra, lower class. Bhokshanti, would enjoy. Mam, me. Iti, thus. Okay. Now she, the chaste one, being unfortunately forsaken by the personality of Godhead, laments her future with tears in her eyes, for now she is being ruled and enjoyed by lower class men who pose as rulers. So now this is the demigoddess of the earth. Dharma is the god of religion. Dharma, he's... remember, this all has allegorical meaning. Whether it literally happened or not, that's for you to kind of wrestle with in your understanding of these things. But this has allegorical meaning, which is proven to be very true in describing this age. She laments for her future with tears in her eyes, for she is now being ruled and enjoyed by lower class men who pose as rulers. It used to be that kings in the ancient Vedic Aryan times, they would actually have to be qualified as rishis as well. They would call a Raja Rishi. And these kings wouldn't be qualified or chosen to rule unless they had these utmost high qualities and could take the status of a Raja Rishi. But now, in this age, just see the qualifications to become king. Now it's just, like say the president. It's just a popularity contest, and it's a corrupt popularity contest. They're manipulating, and pretty much the leaders are all being chosen for us. We just have an illusion of choice. Here you have candidate 1 who we've chosen, or candidate 2 who we've chosen, and both will serve our agendas. And who is they? It's the people who are the elite, rich, controlling the financial systems, controlling the religious system, controlling the media, mass media, all these things. And you're given an illusion of choice, and then they play the divide and conquer game, and they say, yeah, this one's has these issues, and this one's polarized against these issues, but then behind closed door, they're shaking hands, they're happy, and they're all promoting their own agenda to make the rich richer, the poor poorer, and steal from the massive population. And that's reality. Why? Because they are low-class men who pose as rulers. They're not really rulers. They're not really qualified to rule. And it's obvious now for those of us who hear about the qualities of true rulers, and you juxtapose that with what's happening now. It's pathetic, actually. It's lamentable. Which is why she's lamenting her future with tears in her eyes, because she knows what's going to happen, and we're seeing it. So, purport: the Kshatriya, the man who is qualified to protect the sufferers, is meant to rule the state. Untrained lower class men, or men without ambition to protect the sufferers, cannot be placed on the seat of an administrator. Which means that somebody who is ruling, their main quality is that they're meant to protect people who are suffering. But lower class men without ambition, what's that? Oh, he's just looking at me. But lower class men with no ambition to protect the sufferers, they don't really care about the suffering of others. If they're placed on a seat, they can't do the thing. But unfortunately, rulers have no problem making people suffer even more as long as it benefits them, their family, and so on. So this was the qualification of someone who could rule, that they wanted to protect those who are suffering. They wanted to help those who are suffering. But instead, we have today's, situation where they actually want to steal from the suffering and make them suffer a little bit more. And so they create all kinds of financial and religious and media tricks to do just that. Because I've been studying these things, I was seeing that in 1920, the price of gold was $20 per ounce of gold. And now it's, for that same 1 ounce of gold, it's 4,000, it's going down, but it'll go up again. It's between $4,000 and $4,100 for that same ounce of gold, which means that the dollar has been devalued 99.95%. So practically what that means is that the ruling class of men have stolen 99.95% of the value of something from society. The same gold is there, it's the same gold. But now that gold can get you so much less than it once was able to get you. $20 in the 1920s, you could buy a week's worth of groceries now. Now $20 will get you literally practically nothing at the grocery store. Yeah, you're lucky if you get 2 gallons of milk for $20 now. You can't fill a gas tank for $20 now. But this is why, because low-class men have actually stolen the value, and they've played tricks with markets and money and this thing, and it seems like, the same $20, but now you make so much more. But the the proportion that you make more in hundreds of thousands is so much less than the inflation or the devaluation of what they've done. Why? This is their way that they're actually stealing from society. But no problem. We have to go on. We deserve it. This is the Lord's arrangement for us. But this is evidence of what is being spoken of here 5,000 years before it really has gotten so bad here. So anyway, unfortunately, in the age of Kali, the lower class men without training occupy the post of a ruler by strength of popular votes, and instead of protecting the sufferers, such men create a situation quite intolerable for everyone. Such rulers illegally gratify themselves at the cost of all comforts of the citizens, and thus the chaste Mother Earth cries to see the pitiable conditions of her sons, both men and animals. This could be evidenced by the hiding of the Epstein thing. They find out that all these political people, they're going on islands and they're pursuing sick pleasures with children and intoxication and sex life and all kinds of things like that. And it's proven that many presidents, including, like Bill Clinton's on the list, and apparently Trump's there on the list, and who knows, everybody's on the list, and they're all like, but now it's kind of being covered up. But, you're seeing that this is what they do. They get in these positions of power, and then they just create miserable situations. I can't even imagine all those children that they do these things with. And what's to speak of, all of the tax money and all of the, laundering and things that is being done, stealing from the citizens to pursue these sick pleasures. It's horrible, actually. And this is why Mother Earth is crying. She cries to see the pitiable condition of her sons, both men and animals. And then what's to speak of all the animal abuse? The animals are being killed at Holocaust levels every day. There's like a holocaust of animals happening every day. Millions, billions of animals just being slaughtered just because people's tongues, they have no mercy on their tongue. They have no mercy in their heart to even realize, no, this is wrong. I shouldn't support this. But no. They work hard just so they can support this, and they pay the money and all the things. But anyhow. Yeah, but this should be explained. I'm still trying to stall for Parth. But anyone who, I know you guys already know these things, but also maybe anyone listening online, they might say, oh, wow, holy crap, But, so, anyway, that is the future of the world in the age of Kali, when irreligiosity prevails most prominently, and in the absence of a suitable king to curb irreligious tendencies. Educating the people systematically in the teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam will clear up the hazy atmosphere of corruption, bribery, blackmail, etc., all of these unsavory qualities now that we see that rule the world. If people became systematically trained in the teaching of Bhagavatam, which is why my ambition is to go through this and actually make this available to whatever soul might be able to benefit from this online. It's worth it, because if people are educated in this hazy atmosphere of corruption, bribery, and blackmail can be removed, and they can actually have something wonderful into their life instead of this cheating, honestly miserable dog-eat-dog world. Next verse. Iti dharmang mahing chaiva santva yitva maharataha nishatam adade kadgang Kalaye dharma hetave. Iti, thus, dharmam, the personality of religion. Mahim, the earth. Cha, also. Eva, as. Sant vayitva, after pacifying. Maharathaha, the general who could fight alone with thousands of enemies. Nishatam, sharp. Adade, took up. Kadgam, sword. Kalaye, to kill the personified Kali. Adharma, irreligion. Hetave, the root cause. Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion in the earth. And then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion. So remember, this is happening amongst very, very powerful beings. And now Maharaj Parikshit, who's the hero in this portion of the epic, is now ready to kill this great demon who is plaguing the world and the age. But something happens here. We'll see. Purport. As described above, the personality of Kali is he who deliberately commits all kinds of sinful acts which are forbidden in the revealed scriptures. So this is why it's very important to follow Dharma. Some of us now, we are, we're in marriage, or we have a girlfriend, or we're making money, or, we're doing all kinds of things. Anytime we willingly go against Dharma, we have let the personality of Kali come in and take control. This is the sinful nature of man, especially in this age. This age of Kali will certainly be full of all activities of Kali, but this does not mean that the leaders of society, the executive heads, the learned and intelligent men, or above all the devotees of the Lord, should sit down tightly and become callous to the reactions of the age of Kali. Meaning like, oh, I don't care. Whatever it's doing is fine. There's no solution. It's just gonna go. Might as well join him. If you can't beat him, join him. In the rainy season, certainly there will be profuse rainfalls, but that does not mean that men should not take means to protect themselves from the rains. It is the duty of the executive heads of state and others to take all necessary actions against the activities of Kali, or the persons influenced by the age of Kali. And Maharaj Parikshit is the ideal executive head of the state, for at once he was ready to kill the personality of Kali with his sharp sword. The administrators should not simply pass resolutions for anti-corruptional steps, but they must be ready with sharp swords to kill the persons creating corruptions from the angle of vision of the recognized Shastras. I usually don't drink this early, but thank you. I guess I will. Yes. So meaning actually, even here, I'm not qualified to kill anybody. I'm not allowed. If I go out in society and I become a vigilante and kill people, maybe we can kill one or two people and then they'll catch me and then that'll be it for my life. But at the same time, those who are qualified, like let's say there's a nice devotion, maybe, I don't know, the qualification, but this Tulsi Gabbard is supposedly a devotee and she has control over certain levels of policy in the country. And if she actually used that control to make sure that the really wicked doers of society were being killed, that actually is a good service. There needs to be, people who are doing terrible things should be killed. Actually, it's better for them, and it's better for us too. So, just like when a dog turns and it bites a human, what do? They kill the dog. And no one really protests. Well, this dog is violent. It doesn't have a good nature, so it must die. So similarly, when people turn against others and do horrible, corruptional, evil things, it's better that they die. And a true ruler will kill such. Even now, I'm not sure the intentions, but apparently Trump keeps sending videos of him blowing up boats coming into the country. He's like, there's a video of like a boat, and it's coming from like an army plane video, and it just shows you they just launch a missile into the boat and kill everyone on the boat, obviously. And he says that this is due because they were laundering drugs in the country. Maybe he's right, and maybe it's a good thing if they really are, we see all those people on the side of the street here in Syracuse with that fentanyl lean, when they're like, they're leaning over for like an hour straight because they're so intoxicated on these degrading drugs. If somebody is really laundering that in the country, better that they don't do that. And so if murder or killing is the ultimate way to do that, and it could stop millions of other people from overdosing and having a terrible condition of life, it might be good to kill them. But who knows if that's actually happening, who knows what's actually happening? I don't know, but that's what he says. But anyhow, this should be done by an executive head. Parth, you've made it, so I can stop stalling. And because of affection for you, I'll read the last 3 verses just so you know. The burden of the earth was certainly diminished by the personality of Godhead and by others as well. When he was present as an incarnation, all good was performed because of his auspicious footprints. Now she, the chaste one, being unfortunately forsaken by the personality of Godhead, laments her future with tears in her eyes. For now she is being ruled and enjoyed by lower class men who pose as rulers. So when the Lord was here, she was taking the burden of the earth. Now that he's not here, lower class men have taken control of her. And now Maharaj Parikshit, he can't stand to see such a degraded situation. He says, Maharaj Parikshit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacify the personality of religion in the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword and to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion. So he was ready to kill it at the root. And remember, sometimes there are people in your sphere who are committed to being completely taken over to the personality of Kali. Like I even told Madhav recently, because now Madhav has a girlfriend. And yeah, why not? Tell everyone. Madhav has a girlfriend. So, no, don't say that online. Anyway. But anyway, so Madhav has a girlfriend, and I told him that if you do anything that's breaking the proper rules of how to do a girlfriend, you have to do that outside of here, and we cannot have it here, because if it's here, we're letting Kali enter the space, and then he'll destroy everything. So like this myself, I'm seeing, I personally experienced some loss in regards to trying to understand different money markets and things like this, and I made some mistakes that would definitely qualify as gambling. And ultimately, I'm seeing if I don't stop these things, I will completely ruin the whole everything here, and put everything that I'm working for in jeopardy. So it must be stopped. So similarly, he's seeing Kali is doing this thing, and he's ready to kill him. It has to be uprooted, or nothing good can come. So anyhow, as described above, the personality of Kali is he who deliberately commits all sins. Oh, we read that. He's re-saying that. All kinds of sinful acts which are forbidden in the revealed scriptures. So there are persons who are deliberately committing things that are against the scriptures. At the very least, maybe you can't kill them, because you may have to kill a bunch of family, relatives, things like that. You can't kill them, but at the very least, you should avoid them. You should not let them. You should not let them in a very intimate way, into your space, or you're going to have problems. So this age of Kali will certainly be full of all activities of Kali. But this does not mean that the leaders of society, the executive heads, the learned and intelligent men, we read this, right? Or I think Prabhupada is saying this. Or maybe I read this already. Yes, we're in the middle of this purport. So, these are like the reins. And so we know about the activities of Kali, but it doesn't mean we should just accept, all right, activities of Kali, I'm sitting in the middle of it. Let me just go do my meditations in the middle at the bar or the strip club or something like that. No, you would avoid these areas. So if you know it's going to rain in society all around you, there's rain everywhere, you bring an umbrella, you have proper protection, maybe you don't go out on the road, things like that. So you take certain precautions. So it's the duty of the executive heads of state and others to take all necessary actions against the activities of Kali or the person influenced by the age of Kali. And Maharaj Parikshit is the ideal executive head of state, for at once he was ready to kill the personality of Kali with his sharp sword. The administrators should not simply pass resolutions for anti-corruptional steps, but they must be ready with sharp swords to kill the persons creating corruptions from the angle of vision of the recognized Shastras. So the rulers actually, this is going to be controversial, but it's true. Unless the rulers are getting their inspiration from the words of wisdom from the Supreme Lord, I know now in this country we glorify the separation of church and state, but actually it's a system guaranteed for failure, because when you add human secular values which are so imperfect in their understanding of morality, ethics, and rule and how to do things properly, definitely mistakes will be made, and things that are seen as valuable will ultimately not be valuable, not be helpful for society, and things that will not be helpful for society will be seen as helpful for society, which is why our governments subsidize things like high-end animal slaughter, why they support liquor and alcohol businesses, why they support gambling businesses and all these things. Our president, he's had Quite literally in this country, he's had steak businesses, gambling and casino businesses, and liquor businesses. This is all part of his business portfolio. But this is a symptom, And what's to speak of illicit sexual rings as well? He had all these pageants and pageantry, and it came out all the things he said. Multiple wives he's had now. One wife, I learned she literally died getting pushed down the stairs the day before a trial. It's not funny. It's horrible, actually. But yeah. So this is the type of characters we have ruling society. But yeah, it's horrible. But anyhow, but if you have like a good religious ruler who's following the codes of, say, even the Bible or the recognized Shastras, and they would never do such things, then you have a chance. But because we live in a society committed to separating the church and the state, and those godly values aren't recognized, disaster is guaranteed. So the administrators cannot prevent corrupt activities by allowing wine shops. They must at once close all shops of intoxicating drugs and wine and force punishment even by death. Well, Prabhupada is a strong ruler. Force punishment even by death for those who indulge in habits of intoxication of all description. That would be very controversial if practically everyone is intoxicated. But anyway, but this would be actually. I'm not saying we should do this because we're not in the position to do this. Like I said, maybe could get 1 or 2 people in if I were to start killing people, and that's it. They would finish me. That would be the end of my life. So I don't recommend this. And Prabhupada is not saying that we should start doing this. But if the executive heads made strong laws and people broke the laws and continued to break the laws, there may come a time where even punishment by death would be the proper thing. But unfortunately, we live in a pretty wild society where you're seeing, just take a stroll through Syracuse and you're seeing a bunch of intoxicated people who've completely ruined their lives on the side of the street begging for a little bit more money, not to even better their life, but to just get more drugs and more intoxication because they're so addicted. But anyway, this is a problem not just in Syracuse, everywhere. That is the way of stopping the activities of Kali as exhibited herein by Maharaj Parikshit, the Maharatha. So actually the leaders would have to be ready to kill such degraded and irreligious, not like ordinary people, but kill the other rulers who are committed to living by these godless values. But we don't have any godly ruler, so who's ready to do anything like that? So we're in trouble. That's pretty much the thing here. And in the times of old, none of these illicit or horrible habits would ever be allowed by the rulership. And if you continue to try and do them, they would punish you by death. And they would keep society in a pure state this way. Let's read one more verse though. Tang jig hang shum abhipretya vihaya nirpalanchanam tatpadamulang shirasa samagadbaya vivala. Tam, him, jighangsum, willing to kill, abhipretya, knowing it well, vihaya, leaving aside, nirpalanchanam, the dress of a king, tatpadamulam, at his feet, shirasa, by the head, samagat, fully surrendered, bhaya vivala, under pressure of fearfulness. When the personality of Kali understood that the king was willing to kill him, he at once abandoned the dress of a king and under pressure of fear completely surrendered to him, bowing his head. So, we'll read Prabhupada. The royal dress of the personality of Kali is artificial. The royal dress is suitable for a king or kshatriya, but when a lower class man artificially dresses himself as a king, his real identity is disclosed by the challenge of a bona fide kshatriya, like Maharaj Parikshit. So we'd really see, I'm picking on Donald Trump today, but we'd really see the nature of Donald Trump if a very powerful warrior challenged Donald Trump to a fight. And then we'd see that he's probably not warrior material, rulership material. But this is actually how you know the real nature of somebody. Someone could talk real tough, and then if they were actually to get challenged, that you might see that, they're not really a qualified ruler. And that was, a real ruler was like a king, and they would join on the battlefield. They would lead the charge on the battlefield. Not in today. A real Kshatriya never surrenders. A real warrior, they'll fight till death for the right cause. He accepts the challenge of his rival Kshatriya, and he fights either to die or to win. Wow, that's what. Actually, have you ever heard of the story of I forget his name, but there's a king that Bhaktivinoda Thakur tells the story, who had a real Kshatriya spirit, but when Alexander the Great came into India and started conquering, Alexander conquered the king's entire army and then had the king tied up, and then Alexander comes before him, and he usually would, if he didn't like what the king said, he would say, kill him. I forget the name of this king, but he's famous actually. And what ended up happening is Alexander the Great came before this king, but this king had a Kshatriya spirit, and Alexander the Great said, how do you want me to treat you? And he roared from his tied position. He's like, treat me like a king, And Alexander the Great, he was taken aback. And he said, so even if that means killing you, yes, if I must die, so be it. And Alexander the Great says, untie him. You can rule over this portion of the king. I like you. And actually this king, because he had this Kshatriya spirit, and in the face of death, he was willing to die for his convictions. Alexander the Great gave him a bigger kingdom than he had before. Isn't that interesting? And actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur tells that this is actually evidence of this thing. Imagine getting completely conquered, your army completely decimated, you're completely tied up, and it looks like you're going to die. And the Greeks just came and what are they called? The Mlechas or the Yavans came and just completely conquered you. But then your Kshatriya spirit, and then he was actually given an even bigger kingdom to rule over on behalf of Alexander the Great, which is very interesting. Alexander the Great actually was conquered by India. Even though he went in there and conquered, actually Indian philosophy conquered him. And actually at the end, he actually took to a lot of yogic principles before leaving this world, due to being impressed with the Indian philosophy, actually. And so that's actually Srila Prabhupada's plan too, not to conquer the world with force, but to conquer the world with the Indian philosophy presented in Srimad Bhagavatam, this godly philosophy, which actually has impacted all religions. Like Jesus himself, there's so much evidence that he was, in the 28 years he was missing from the Bible, not 28, 18 years he was missing from the Bible, there's so much evidence of a rising a Jewish saint named Isa, and even the Muslims call Jesus Isa still to this day, in the Tibet, in India and Persian regions, as he was in his travels, and he picked up so much from Indian philosophy. Even there's rumor that he stayed at the Jagannath temple in Puri. But anyhow, Indian philosophy is amazing actually, and Prabhupada believed that the whole world could be conquered with this philosophy, but not by force, but by sound reason and logic and sound, godly principles. So anyway, surrender is unknown to a real Kshatriya. In the age of Kali, there are so many pretenders dressed and posed like administrators or executive heads, but their real identity is disclosed when they are challenged by a real Kshatriya. Therefore, when the artificially dressed personality of Kali saw that to fight Maharaj Parikshit was beyond his ability, he bowed down his head like a subordinate and gave up his royal dress. Now we only let old people rule the world. And old people can't fight. They're not going to fight. So these people, they're not qualified. They're not qualified to lead armies. They're not qualified to, put their life on the line for anything. If the president got captured, he'd probably cry and snivel like a little girl and do all kinds of degrading things. So please let me go, let me go. Who knows what they do. I don't even want to think about it. But anyhow, therefore, when the artificially dressed personality of Kali saw that to fight Maharaj Parikshit was beyond his ability, he bowed down his head like a subordinate and gave up his royal dress. So this is what actually would, this is not, that's why Kali is dressed like a king, but he's not really qualified. And when his life gets on the line, he surrenders. But a Kshatriya would never surrender. If they're fighting for the right cause, they'll die. Like this king who Alexander the Great was greatly impressed by. Anyway, we'll end here. But yeah, these are, you're going to learn a little bit about Kshatriya culture. But also, we should take it, not that we're Kshatriyas, actually Prabhupada wants us to be Brahminical. But a Brahmin is even above a Kshatriya. They'll never transgress the, or they'll never willingly transgress the principles of Dharma. They'll never, they're always live by higher principles, intelligent principles mentioned in the Shastras. And yeah, we're Brahmins in training, and I'm making constant mistakes in trying to be properly Brahminical. But if we succeed, we'll have these really wonderful, truthful qualities, and we'll never back down, even in the face of death, at these qualities. Never in the face of any compromise. Oh, maybe my wife will leave me if I follow these principles. Or maybe my children won't accept me if I follow these principles. Or maybe my job won't accept me if I follow these principles. But if you really become Brahminically inclined, nothing will ever stop you from following these higher principles. There's nothing, And even in the face of all uncertainty, like the king he's following his dharma, treat me like a king. Same way, if you're really trying to honor your Brahminical life and your job's ready to fire you, your wife's ready to leave you, your children are ready to abandon you, no problem. Living by higher principles is worth all of those things. And really Krishna's blessing. So anyhow, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So, part